number 2, keep your finger off the trigger until you want it to go boom. When you hold this firearm, your finger should automatically index off to the side like this. It does not go inside the trigger guard. I can make sure that that's not in any way loaded. It does not go inside that trigger guard until you actually want it to go boom and you want to fire at something. When that happens, then you can fire, and then it comes right back out as soon as you're done. It does not stay there, right? Too many easy ways for an accidental discharge to happen. A lot of semi-automatics, especially if it's already, if it's a single action that's cocked, or if it's, a striker fire that's got one in the chamber, it automatically cocks it when you put one in the chamber. So it can be really easy to pull that trigger sometimes. There's different trigger pulls for different firearms, but just don't mess with that, right? Don't mess with it. Keep your finger off to the side. This needs to be muscle memory. This needs to be habit. You know, you pick up your drill, this is how you hold it. You pick up your can of Windex or Lysol when you're disinfecting things, this is how you hold it. Your finger automatically comes to the side. Some firearm designs encourage that. This is a M&P Shield. It's got a built-in crimson trace, and guess what? The control for the laser is right there. It's built in so that your hand just naturally goes right to where that spot is, because that's where they want you to put your finger. The Hellcat similarly has a little dimple right there to encourage you to use that as a spot to put your finger. They want to build good habits. You need to work with them on that. As some of our more redneck friends might like to say, keep your booger hooker off the bang switch. Of course, in this time of coronavirus and COVID-19, you shouldn't be picking your nose anyway. Stop it. Bad habit. So here's the other thing about rule number 2, is that where that gets a little bit tricky for people sometimes is in holstering and drawing. The second you lay hand on this firearm, your hand is automatically in that position. And this is a big giveaway for our characters as well, whether they're trained or not and how they draw safely. But it's a big safety thing. Even with blanks, you don't want it going off right here. So as soon as I draw, my hand is already in that indexing position. It starts there and it stays there. So as soon as that gun clears the leather, it's already in that position, right? Actually, in this case, Kydex, not leather, but you get the idea. So you get that good grip, and as you draw, you're already in that position where you've got your finger indexing the side. I'm also nice and high and tight up against the back strap here. I'm not doing anything silly where the slide's gonna bite into my hand as I fire, all that good stuff. This becomes especially important also when holstering, because if I get some clothing caught in here or something like that, as it clears this holster, if my finger's here, that's gonna push it in, right? My finger's gonna get caught in there, and the edge of the holster is gonna push it back, and that could deploy the trigger. So you gotta be really careful as you holster that finger and everything else is clear of the guard. Notice how I'm holding my clothes free as well. I don't want to just kind of let that hang and just fish around. Clear everything out. Find that. And then you're back. If you're concealed carry, it should be concealed. It's just something that takes muscle memory. You do have to practice it. And that's okay. Practice is cool. You can do it in your basement, on your own, whatever, with an unloaded firearm. Take the darn rounds out first. Now, the other thing about holsters, a holster can make that job easier or harder. One of the reasons why I like these Kydex holsters is because this basically armors the trigger guard. There is no way that anything is going in there while this Kydex is covering it. You know, I kind of like the feel of leather. It's a little more comfortable sometimes. I love the old school nature of it. But some of the cheaper leather holsters and nylon holsters don't actually cover the trigger guard, and some of them can just bend in over time and wear in funny ways. They flex in less predictable ways. So if you do have a leather holster, you know, awesome, but make sure that the trigger guard is covered the whole time as you go. We want to make sure that there's no way anything can get inside that trigger guard. There we go. We're going to make sure there's no way that anything can get inside that trigger guard. We want to check this holster periodically and make sure that it hasn't started to like divot in, because as you sweat or things like that, if there's pushing in on it, that can also change the shape of the leather. And then also reholstering can be a little harder with leather. You sometimes have to push around. And so that's where, again, you just want to make sure that your finger is off to the side and not inside the leather, because that's where bad things can happen. All right. No accidents. Now you can also, of course, get hybrids. This would be an example of a holster that has leather backing and Kydex front. That works fine, right? So what's against the skin is leather, but what's covering up the trigger is Kydex. That can be a decent compromise sometimes. There's lots of options, but those cheap nylon holsters, or let alone just sticking it in your pocket or tucking it in your pants, which sometimes we do on set, bad idea. It really doesn't protect the trigger. I have seen some pocket holsters where it's just almost like a little gun bikini, like a little Kydex thing that just covers the trigger and nothing else. Covers the trigger guard, clips onto your belt, attaches with a little string, so when you pull it out of your pocket, it'll snap off that thing from the trigger guard. That works. Really, that's the important part. That's what you got to cover. To some degree, yeah, maybe the muzzle as well, just because you don't want anything to get in there. But if it's a little pocket lint, not a big deal. So, we've got rule number 1, assume it's dangerous. Number 2, keep your finger out of the trigger guard and off the trigger until you're ready for it to go boom.